この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
The idea for this video came from something Xearrik Gaming was saying on his stream about counters in games where there are multiple enemies. I preface this by saying this is all in good faith, it's just so I can get my point across easier than attempting to explain my position in stream chat. I will agree that the mechanic doesn't work in a lot of these games, such as the Musou genre with games such as Dynasty Warriors. This is for the reason he describes in a clip taken from his stream. With that said, there are games in the genre that utilise countering perfectly fine by using visuals as well as telegraphed attacks. Examples of this that I can think off the top of my head are the Senran and Kagura games and Honkai Impact. This is also true for Genshin Impact, but he raises another point about enemy consistency and how sometimes they stand around and don't attack very often. Obviously this is related to Beidou and her Tidecaller. So the purpose of this video is to demonstrate how you use Tidecaller and how enemies are not as inconsistent as he makes them out to be.
I don't like counter. I'd rather just save my abilities. I don't like countering in this game. I don't like countering in any game that has hordes of enemies trying to attack you. I love countering in games like Dark Souls where it's like 1v1, 1v3 or 4 at max. But when it's hordes of enemies surrounding you and attacking from all directions constantly, it's not fun to have a counter. Are you hating on my girl Bediou? Wait, what about Bediou? What did she do? Oh, her counter? Yeah, her counter was annoying too. That's why her counter is low tier trash. Her counter's garbage because of the way Genshin Impact is designed. It's a horde-based game, so the AI...
I think that's a lucky emblem.
The AI of the games are trash. If you're fighting enemies that reliably attack you so you can counter, Bediou's good. If you're not, she's bad. And therefore Genshin Impact is a bad... Genshin Impact, Bediou's not a good character. Because you're always fighting enemies that don't attack in a reliable freaking pattern. Instead, you're surrounded by hordes of enemies, and one of them will randomly attack. It's like, imagine in Dark Souls, you're fighting, say, 2 enemies, right? And they attack you, and they have their own patterns, and they do it. Well, in a horde-based game, you have 50 enemies, and all of them attack you very, very slowly. Like, each individual enemy only attacks you once every 10 minutes, it feels like. That's because they divide up all their attacks amongst each other in order to attack you about the same rate as you would be attacked in, say, a Dark Souls game. And because of that, countering is obnoxious and unfun because you have to counter in all directions at all times because you never really know which one's going to attack you from where. Quite often, it'll be some ranged guy in the background where it's his turn to attack. It's just, countering is not good in horde-based games. It just isn't. It's a mechanic that just shouldn't even be bothered to be put in horde-based games.
Obviously, how counter works depends on the game it's designed for. Beidou's counter is designed for Genshin Impact. It counters any attack 360 degrees around the character. It has a large window in which it generates various strengths based on the number of hits that it takes, but it also has a perfect counter mechanic, whereas if you are hit within a certain time frame, you gain the maximum strength of it. As for the actual damage component of the counter, it doesn't hit a single target like it would in a game like Dark Souls. Instead, it hits an extremely large AoE around the character.
If the enemies randomly are consistent for one fight, then she's good. But you'll do fights where the enemies just won't attack you. You'll just keep hitting them and they'll just never attack you for some damn reason. And you're just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. You're like, just hit me, please. Just hit me so I can increase my DPS.
Here we go.
They never do it though. And so I'd rather have consistency rather than a random RNG-based damage spike, which her counters are pure RNG.
Come on.
You actually pulling off the counter isn't RNG, but the enemy actually initiating, like attempting to initiate an attack so that you can counter consistently, insanely high RNG. Like, it is super high time for not that good of a reward.
So this is just very basic gameplay of Beidou's counter. These are the type of enemies that are really easy to counter because they have big telegraphed attacks. You can see here he's about to hit me, but I dodge because I'm still on cooldown. I'm only like a few, like about a second. If he attacked a second later, then I would have got it in, but I had to dodge it. But the opportunity for another attack isn't too far on the corner. He does it again here, and I can just counter it, right? This isn't how you play Beidou, right? You don't sit on Beidou and just use counter willy-nilly. That's just not how you play Beidou. So we'll kind of go into ways you will actually utilize Beidou properly.
There's like half a dozen characters that do what she does, but better. Like, for instance, you don't have to counter if you have the Luke. Instead, you'll just constantly interrupt the enemy, and they'll never be able to attack you, because you'll just interrupt them with staggers over and over and over.
Diluc is not a replacement for Beidou because their roles are completely different. Diluc is a carry whose damage is more consistent and spread out over a longer period of time, so you will use him on the field the most. Beidou is a reaction DPS. She supplies a big burst of damage in an AoE from her counter, and her burst is used to enhance your carry while she's off the field. You will see in future clips going forward, my carry is Eula. I use Beidou with Eula because I can produce Superconduct, which reduces enemies' physical resistance by 40%. The next few clips will demonstrate how there are predictable patterns within the enemies and how you can abuse them with Beidou. Enemies generally have internal cooldowns with attacks that are very telegraphed, and these are guaranteed to go off within 16-second intervals. Why 16 seconds? Because if you counter within 16 seconds, you are going to get the full benefit of Beidou's energy particles. She generates 4 on a perfect counter and 2 on an imperfect counter. 2 imperfect counters will gain you 4 energy and 200% damage. 1 perfect counter will gain you 4 energy and 400% damage. Her skill cooldown is 8 seconds, so any counter less than 16 seconds are a net benefit to you just spamming the skill off cooldown. And you will see that big telegraphed attacks from enemies will happen more often than 16-second intervals. So this clip kind of outlines the issue that Xearrik brings up about enemies not attacking you and standing around a lot. And what I think this is, the reason this happens is because within the AI there's it's like there's an attack that always happens at the very start of a fight. So that attack triggers, and then that attack goes onto a cooldown then, on a cooldown cycle. They won't attack until that cooldown's up, and then they'll do the same attack again. And this is a perfect example of that. And if you know when this, like roughly how long these internal cooldowns of these enemies work, then you can abuse them quite easily. Every time he does a slam right near the start. So here he goes with a slam. Counter it. Right. Didn't do a lot of damage because he's got an ice shield on, but it's just for the sake of... Anyway, I could have countered that, but I think I was still on cooldown, so I didn't bother. But there you go. He does that same attack again. Like, he does it again here. And I can... Because it's so telegraphed, I can basically go, okay, well, he's about to do it. I'll switch to Beidou, and I'll use it. Right. Again, not a lot of damage because he's got the ice shield on him, but it's just... But in a minute, you'll see he just doesn't attack for a long time. And he's standing, walking backwards and forwards, and I'm not utilising Beidou at all. So this is kind of the argument, right? This is basically, this is the problem. Beidou is essentially useless at this point because I can't utilise a counter. But the argument for this is Beidou's counter does so much damage that the downtime where you're not doing it, it's still justified, because if you get a perfect counter, you're doing 4 times the amount of damage compared to her normal version of the attack. Plus you get a bunch more energy. I can't remember how much more energy it is, but I'll put that on the screen. So sometimes it's worth not using the skill off cooldown and just waiting a little bit for that opportunity, because it does so much damage. But this is a single target, right? This is what you got to also consider. This is a single target, and single targets have much more consistent attacks, whereas multiple targets do not, and that is like the other argument he was making. But again, he's just walking around, he's not doing much, I'm just using my other attacks, but there I could have done it, but I got the second attack instead. So again, I can still utilise the counter fairly easily.
Talking about Hilo Charge. No, I'm talking about literally every enemy in the entire game. Like, literally every enemy in the entire game is inconsistent with their attacks. The entire fight, the enemies would not attack me. And I'm not talking about Hilly Churls, the other ones too. Like the goofy dudes, whatever the hell their stupid ass name was called. The Goof Troop. I don't know. They had the dumbest name ever. They would just stand there as I would just attack them, and they just stand there and stand there and stand there and stand there and stand there, and I would attack them with my higher DPS character because Bedou's DPS is trash with anything other than her special attack, her ultimate.
One of the ones specifically outlined were these Fatui. I think that's who he was talking about, how they're really inconsistent and they have times where they stand around and don't attack very much. But here, once again, same thing. I go in, they're not attacking, and then I see him coming in, so I do this counter, but he kind of completely flops and misses me, right? So that's that was kind of unfortunate. But this guy now, he's about to do a belly flop. And I'll show you in a minute when this guy's dead. Okay. Okay, this guy here. So what I know about these guys is every time you close the gap into them, you can see I've instantly switched to Beidou because I know that the first thing he's going to do when I run to him is going to jump backward and he's going to take a shot at me, because that is always what they do. There is consistency in his AI. He will always jump back when I run at him. He'll jump back and then he'll take a shot. These guys always, when you run into them to initiate a fight, they always do the same thing where they create this like whirlwind around them with these little dagger things, and you can counter it. Every time I do that, oh look, he's doing that, I can counter him. Like, about say about a third of his health, maybe a bit less, bit over a quarter, right, in one attack. Now he's disappeared, and I know that he's going to do a charge attack, so I come to Beidou, and there we go, okay. Right, so I'm going to run over to that guy, and I'm going to look over at that guy over there, because I know he's going to shoot me, and all these guys here are going to die. So once again, like a lot of these examples are obviously the initiation of a fight, and you can get that initial burst of damage. Most of the attacks in this game are heavily telegraphed. I mean, you can see this guy here, he's charging up a shot, and he's got a big, like, glowing attack, like, in front of him, and you go, well, he's going to attack me in a minute, so I can use that to leverage damage with Beidou. So I can see this guy at the back here is about to jump. And what's the obvious tell here is there's a big circle here telling me that he's going to land on my head. So I've got enough time here just to switch to Beidou and counter. Bam. God, all the colours have gone very funky. But you can see here, 39, 39, 39. So basically 40k on each of these. So that's 120k on all these enemies in one hit. That's pretty good for an instantaneous attack. Right, that's a huge DPS spike. And with these enemies, it's quite easy to kind of abuse this. I think I'd do it again. Okay, so what I'd see is this guy's spinning, so I've got to run out of there. But this is a perfect opportunity for me to switch to Beidou. Here we go. So here I can see this guy's spinning, so I'm going to do my ultimates, come in and switch to Beidou. I take a hit for it, but it was worth it because... Okay, so this guy's coming in. He's doing a spin. We just switch to Beidou. We get this. Bam. 48, 48, 24. Like, that's some big PP damage. You can see, like, just the chunk out of him. Like, bam. And I'm telling you, right, my Beidou is not built well. I've seen people, like, my ultimate does about 10k damage. I've seen people, I don't know how they do it, but with her ultimate, when they're on each hit, each bounce of that ultimate, they're doing like 20k damage. So I could imagine, like, this, you could easily get over 60k per hit. Maybe even more if you've got, like, good artifacts and stuff. But for a moderately well-built Beidou, I think that's pretty nice damage. Yes, I'm not getting crits 100% of the time, but like 2 times out of 3 here, that's pretty good. So this is a bit of footage from the Abyss to show how you can preemptively use the counter by basically abusing the enemy's AI. So here we go. This guy, right? Every time, this guy here, he always does this heavy attack. And these enemies at the back, this one here, there's another one over here somewhere, they always charge you, guaranteed, every time. That's because in their AI there's a timer. They look through the AI, they go, okay, this attack's available, and I'm this distance away, I'm going to use this attack. So every time they always use the same attack, and you'll see throughout this floor how they do this every single time and how you can abuse it. I use that to get quite a big hit on him. I switch to my other characters and then I just finish them off. Yeah, okay. So then we come over to the next side. Oh, there's still this guy that I missed. So you come over to the next side and he's going to do the same thing again. So he just abuse it once again, big amount of damage, kill 2 enemies as well as half health the big guy, and he's down like straight away. Again, once again, same thing here, but I actually interrupt him because I wanted, as you can see, my health of all my characters at the moment is extremely low because of corrosion. But I can still, like, I can see that he's charging that up, so I've got, because his telegraph is so slow, I've got plenty of time to switch to Beidou and once again counter everybody. And this is the thing, right? I don't have to actively use Beidou's counter off cooldown because it does so much damage and hits so many people in one go that it's justified. Again, here we go. Just that time I don't think I got a full count because I did it a bit too late. That is obviously the risk reward with this, but still, it's there. I just used the normal attack quickly, so let's see how much damage that does. It still does like about 13k. Just to switch to a character quickly and just hit that. Bam. That's one example of how you can use it and how you can predict enemy attacks by using Beidou's counter. It's not that enemies just are random and inconsistent. That throughout this entire clip you can see how consistent it is. Because you basically know when I run in, this guy's going to attack me. So it does require prior knowledge. That's the main issue with Beidou, is it requires knowledge of the game and knowledge of certain attacks to make use of it. This is an example of a fight where it's going to be a lot more inconsistent, and this is kind of more to what you're talking about with the enemies not attacking very predictably. And it requires you to actually have a lot of awareness while you're doing other stuff to be able to like utilize the counter correctly. I'm just hitting this guy and I can see this guy's throwing that in and I counter, right? So these guys around here are like one way you can counter, but then also these big guys here have very like I could counter there, but I don't bother. But I could have easily switched to counter that. I get a counter in there. So it is fairly easy to use it consistently if you know enemy attack patterns, you know like what attacks they're going to do. There's so many enemies around you, there's so many opportunities to pull off a counter that it is just a case of, like, again, I could have countered there because I saw that guy in the background throw something, but I didn't because I just thought, you know what, I'll finish him off and get on to the next bit. So like this is a perfect opportunity to do it. I get up because I just switch to it quickly and use it, which is obviously not very good. But you'll see in a minute, I see this guy here, he's revving up to kick me. So like I'm here and I can see this guy's about to hit me with his paddle and I just counter him. It happened so quick that I missed it last time. So you can, if you got good awareness of what's going on, you can utilize the counter really effectively. 51k, 51k, 24 over here. I think there's another 24 there. So that's like every enemy around me just took a ton of damage. So that's 100k there. That together will be 150k, and then whatever's behind me, whatever took damage around here, you're probably looking at almost, let's just say, 175 to 200k damage in an instant, right? And that, to me, that makes Beidou's counter fully worth having her on my team, because her burst is still so good on its own. You can just use Beidou for a burst alone, and it's really effective. And I'll tell you something, I'm actually pretty bad at using Beidou's counter, and I just bungo this crap. Like, it is harder than other alternatives, but it feels so good just to get that counter off. When you see an enemy revving up to hit you, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna absolutely murder you now.
It's just not worth it. You have to try hard to use her. That's what she is. She's playing the game on hard mode.
Yes, you do have to try hard to use her, but same goes with characters like Diluc. You have to buff your damage using other characters, then vaporize correctly by attacking in between pyro attacks. You may not enjoy countering in this type of game, and that is fine, but I personally do. It requires knowledge of the attack patterns and good observation skills. It's not that the easiest path is the path you should take. There are plenty of exploits in games that are mind-numbing, but are the most effective. It is hard to design a game while considering all the possible ways the player will exploit that system. Admittedly, some games do a better job than others, but do you think that was intentional, or do you think that luck may also be a factor? It's extremely easy to be armchair game developers, but without doing it for ourselves, we can never truly know how difficult it is. It is up to the player which path they take, exploit the game for efficiency, or take the tough path that requires more skill but feels more rewarding to them. That is why I think this argument is bullcrap. It isn't about if Beidou's counter is the most meta, it's about if it is viable and if you are able to utilise it well while beating the content and getting enjoyment from it along the way. So no, Beidou isn't trash tier, my dear kitty cat, and you do better to respect those fires. To anybody watching this, it's all in good fun. I recommend you go watch Xearrik's streams. He's filled with spicy takes, but if you can stomach that, he's very entertaining. He actually doesn't play Genshin Impact anymore, and he has a pretty negative view of it, which is fine and understandable, as I've expressed similar frustrations myself. As for you, Xearrik, I look forward to you either doubling down or a I was wrong about Beidou video. Till next time, goodbye.